Hello gamers, Muckluck here, and we are back with our tour through all of the boon-providing DPS in Guild Wars 2, and today I learned how to play the alacrity-providing DPS Tempest. For the purposes of this, I went over to Guild Gen and pulled up their guide over here, and also the Snow Crow's guide right here. Now, the Snow Crow's guide, I don't do well. This is just my own personal way of learning. Having all, the names like this, I struggle with, so I was using the Guild Gen priority right here. However, I struggled to keep the boons up. Now, they say that you can do it with nearly full Viper. I struggled to do that, probably skill issue. So I ended up using nearly full Writ, which is what this was advising to do. So in the end, I was using kind of a hybrid of these two guides. I'll have them both linked down below, but I was essentially using the gen sheet here for my rotation for how to learn. So this is the build that I learned. So what we ended up doing was having mostly Ritualists with a couple of pieces of Vipers. We have Rune of the Trapper, Relic of the Fractal, Bursting and Malice on our two weapons, which are Pistol and Warhorn. This is the build. Both websites 100% agree on the specializations and the traits, but they have disagreements on these. I was using these, which is what I learned from the Guild Gen rotation, which again, I just found easier to read. Now, just to really quick show that I have a basic understanding of how to play this, I am currently getting Fury and Might and Quickness from the console. So any alacrity you see will be from me, and then that's my damage per second. So I'm gonna run up to this golem. I'm gonna overload Earth to start with, and then I'm going to extend that boon, and I'm just going to go 3, 2, and I'm going to go straight into fire, and I'm going to use some signets, summon the big elemental thing, and then I'm going to overload fire, and then I am going to use 3, 2, 4, 5, and go into water, and I actually did the water skills in the wrong order, so I know I made a mistake there. 3, 2 in earth, and then do this, and extend the boons again, and overload earth. And there we go, and use those, which is their instant cast, go back into fire, and 3, 2, and do this, and 4, 5, and overload fire. And then we are going to 3, 2 again, briefly go into water, 2, 3, and use my signets, and go back into earth, 3, 2, extend boons, 4, 5, because I'm waiting on overload. Overload just came up. And we'll just pause it there. So I'm 23k DPS, 100% Alac uptime on my group. Could it be better? Absolutely, but I've been playing this for 2 hours, and let me tell you what I have learned so far. As always, because it seems to have become an issue lately, I would like to point out this is not a guide. This is me cataloging my experience as I visit all of these different builds in the game and sharing things that I think could be better or could be worse on them, and how it feels as a person who's pretty experienced in Guild Wars 2, but not experienced on this class, and what my thoughts are on it after trying it. Was the grass greener on the other side, or holy hell am I never coming back to this? Heal Alac Spectre. And okay, so what have we got here? So the general idea of this is every time you overload, you provide alacrity. Now I'm going to say this in a way that hopefully anyone can understand it, even if they've never played Ellie. Down here on your bar, instead of weapon swap, you do have weapon swap, but you cannot use it during combat. You can swap elements. So when you swap to an element, if you are a Tempest, after that element cools down, you can do that element again. So you can fire, and then you can fire harder. So when you hit fire a second time, you do an overload, which for fire, you spend like a top. All right, so if I then go to earth, and then I wait 5 seconds, and use overload earth, you do this thing, do an impression of Toph, and you are pulsing alacrity while you are doing the overload. You do alacrity pulses or as you do the overload, and you do a lot of alacrity as you finish the overload. You have a few other useful tools. For example, right here, Sand Squall, Warhorn 4 in Earth. I'm gonna do the overload here, and note the alacrity, okay? It's got 8 seconds, I'm gonna use Sand Squall, and it just jumped up to 10. This adds 3 seconds to all boons on the whole party. Very nice, unique strength to this class. That's Ellie Earth Warhorn. Has the ability to add 3 seconds to all boons on everyone in the party. It extends all of them. So if anyone is slipping, the Might, the Fury, the Regen, Stability, like anything, it'll add 3 seconds to it. Very cool feature. I believe only Herald can also do that. Off the top of my head, Herald and Warhorn Elementalist can do boon extension. Very cool skill, something unique to them. Now, with this build, you are effectively, anytime you go into Earth or Fire, you do 3, 2, okay? After that, if you're in Earth or Fire, you can use any of these skills if they're lit up, okay? The Signet, the Shout, or the Glyph of Elementals, and if it's already active, you can do this. If the Elemental is already active, this skill and this skill are instant and can be done while doing other things. After you overload, you do 5, 3, 2, and then swap to the next element. In general, the rotation recommended by the guide I was following was, well, you know what? It'll be easier to show you with the Golem. Give me just a second. All right, so I will start with an overload just to get Alacrity on my group as fast as possible, use Warhorn 4 to extend the boon, go into fire, and then I'll follow the loop, which is 3, 2, and then I'll burn some signets over here on this side while I am waiting on the overload. Then I'll use the overload, and then I'll do 5, 3, 2. Earth's not ready, so I'll just go water for a second and do 2, 3, then go into earth and do 3, 2. And again, I can hit the signets over here, which are lit up, and the overload's coming up. I'll do the overload, and then I'll do the boon extension, and then I can do 5, 3, 2, and then fire's up. So I'm just gonna skip water and go straight back to fire. Now, I made some slight adjustments to what I was doing because it worked for me. Basically, we're only overloading fire and earth. We're briefly visiting water in between when we are having to wait on cooldowns. If we're in fire or earth, we do pistol 3, 2. If we're in water, we do pistol 2, 3. That is just because of the pistol system, which is this whole Bernie bullet thing where you get a bullet and then you shoot the bullet and it makes the bullet do more bullet per bullet. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't read much of the pistol tooltips. This is just me. I found them really boring. I have 12 pistol skills, 3 fire, 3 water, 3 air, and 3 earth, and every single one of them goes bang. I find that, like, this does damage, 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 this does one of the weakest CCs I've ever seen. This does some damage in Condis. This does damage, this does damage, and this does damage and immobilize for a second. It's every single one of them is welcome to America. So a couple people recommended that maybe I would like Scepter more. Snowcrows and Gilgen said that pistol was the most damage, so I just learned it with the pistol. It's extremely easy to pick up. Again, if I was in fire or earth, I do 3, 2. If I am in water, I do 2, 3. And that is apparently the good way of doing it. I just find it's very simple. Aside from that, you know, we're overloading fire and earth as often as possible to keep the boons up. The earth for Warhorn boon extension helps keep that up. These skills are all pure damage. Just damage, 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 and damage. And these two are instant, so you can do those while you're doing something else. Couple things about the class. As we were testing it, this provides some unique boons other than the alacrity you signed up for. So if I remove my boons here, and I'm going to add quickness on myself. So all I have right now is quickness. And I'm gonna respawn the golem just to leave combat and run over here as if I'm starting a fight for the first time. So I'm gonna overload earth right now. And then I'm gonna extend boons, and then I'm gonna swap to fire, 3, 2, and then do the signet things, and do some stuff over here, and then I'm going to overload fire, and then I'm going to do 5, 3, 2, and I'll even use Deuce 4 while I'm here, and then water 2, 3, earth 3, 2, and do this stuff, and earth overload is almost up, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to add 3 seconds to that. Okay, look at this. We are keeping up 25 stacks of might, protection 100% of the time, and alacrity 100% of the time. And, icing on the cake, protection on us is more effective than normal protection. I did check the wiki, although this tooltip does not say it. The wiki says this is self-only and not your whole group. So even if you give protection to your whole group, this is only buffing that prot on yourself. But it makes the prot reduce incoming damage by 39%, which feels very nice. So this can pair well with quickness healers that struggle to keep prot up. Because this will, or might, this keeps 25 might and prot and alacrity up with the same build. Just playing the way that you would play to, normally. You don't have to really do anything extra for that. So that is really cool. This build with the Pistol Warhorn is completely ranged, so that is a nice advantage. You can apply boons with no target. One of the previous builds I did was Mirage and Willbender. They could not be stacking up boons when there was like a phase transition happening and they had nothing to hit. You can. You just keep hitting your overloads, even while you're waiting for the boss to reappear. Feels tiny bit wasteful, but you can keep those boons rolling on your party as long as you can keep doing that. No big deal. So that was something that was pretty cool. So it does have the unique ability to apply auras to its teammates. So for example, I can summon this thing and then boom, we both have fire aura. You also have the ability to give a few others, like magnetic aura reflects projectiles, which is useful sometimes. You could swap out Signet of Earth and bring Eye of the Storm, which gives your group stability, instant cast. Aftershock, which gives Aegis, instant cast. Very, very responsive and abilities that feel good to use. If you need more CC, because I'm going to be honest, with this build, exactly how it is, the CC felt awful. There was some moments in the fights that we did where like I went into Earth and then I waited 4 seconds. It was time to overload Earth, and then a CC bar came up, and I had 2 choices. Finish the overload in Earth, or Alacrity would fall off, or swap to air to do one of the weakest CCs in the game, 150, but it's what I had, and then we lose Alacrity. So I would, sometimes swap, or I would sometimes just, like, oh, they'll handle it, and then we would fail the CC bar. So it feels, I've got the Air 4 has a 150 CC, and Water 4 has 150 CC. And I think there was another one in here somewhere, but I remember all of them combined was less than a MOA Signet. Now, I was told by Dan from Snowcrows, you can bring Frostbow on a fight, and then summon the Frostbow, and Frostbow 5 is 400 CC, so that's a powerful CC. So if you need a really strong one for a fight, you can do that. I'm just talking about like the default build as I was playing it, did not have much impressive in the way of CC. You would need to swap some stuff out for that. One bug that I noticed with this class that I hope that if anyone at ArenaNet sees this would love to see it fixed is with Signet of Earth. So Signet of Earth reads passively improves toughness. It doesn't. So if I look here at my toughness, I have 1k. If I change this to something else, I have 1k. Now with Signet of Earth, if you activate it, it says it will immobilize and bleed my foe. However, if I activate it, I gain toughness. Now, I do have a trait that says that your signets will continue giving their passive bonuses while they are on cooldown. If I swap this to a different trait, and then I hit the signet, I don't gain toughness. Here's my theory. I looked it up, and July of last year is when this signet stopped giving toughness. The reason was probably because if you're in a raid and you have more toughness than the tank, you are now the tank. Congratulations, you've been promoted. So they probably changed this at that time, but they didn't change the wording on the tooltip. Also, they probably didn't update the written in stone trait. And the written in stone trait is supposed to still give you the passive effect. So I think this is giving you the passive effect of the Signet of Earth from before July 2023 when you activate the signet until the signet wears off. If it's supposed to be giving you that toughness, I couldn't find a reason for it. But that's my theory. You're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. I've been playing this class for 2 hours. But yeah, one, when you activate it with that trait, I don't think you're supposed to gain toughness. And 2, the wording of the trait should be changed because it no longer improves toughness passively. So those are some bugs I saw after just playing this class for like a few minutes before I even went into any content. And there's that. So what are my thoughts about the class as a whole? I took it into strikes. I was planning to do raids as well with this. However, honestly, I was in a group that was a full pug and it was really scuffed. We did a 15-minute Harvest Temple. We did kill it on the first try, but oh boy, was it scuffed. My thoughts on playing this. This feels more rotational than anything else I've played during this series. Like, you go fire, you do some stuff, fire, overload, water. You go earth, you do some stuff, earth, overload, water. You go fire, you do some stuff, fire, overload, water. You go earth, you do some stuff, you do earth, overload, water. It's like 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3. I'm doing a waltz. That's what it feels like. It does not matter what is happening around me. I am doing my jam, all right? No one is going to mess with that. This is my dance floor. You cannot take that away from me. That's it, all right? And if something messed it up, I had to get back into my waltz as quickly as possible, else all the boons fall down. That's basically it. Now, if you like rotations, you might love this. This is extremely rotational. You learn what to do and you do it. If you prefer a more reactive or a priority system type of gameplay, I would classify myself as someone who enjoys a priority system. This, for me, got really boring, especially the overload. Like this, these cast times are so long. I could take my hand off the keyboard for like, moments at a time, maybe go to the kitchen, make a sandwich and come back. Like, the cast times of overloads are so long. It reminds me of fishing in Guild Wars 2, which is like a lot of time you aren't playing the game. And so I got bored. It was effective, you know? I was breaking 20k DPS. I was keeping the boons up. I was keeping 25 might up. I was keeping alacrity up. I was keeping prod up. I was boon extending other people's boons. I was doing all the things I needed to do. It was absolutely effective, but my brain got bored. I was just not into it as much. But maybe you will be. Maybe you will be. And again, I learned one way of playing the Tempest. So if you were to play this with Scepter, if you were to bring different skills down here or run anything different, again, there are different builds on the various websites, you can get a different experience out of this. I feel it's important to say that. I've had a lot of interesting, not vile, but misunderstood comments on some of my recent videos in this series for people that think I'm making guides with this. And once again, I played this for 2 hours and I'm describing my experience to others who might be interested in what I have to say about that. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So yeah, absolutely viable, absolutely effective. You could run it with Vipers, or if you're like me and you need a little bit more of a cushion, you could run it with Ritualist. It keeps up 25 might and prot and alacrity on its team. It can do some unique things that are good for it, like boon extension on the whole party, auras on the party, depending on which auras you are applying. Weak CC unless you bring better CC than what is in the default kit. You can refresh boons with no target. So, kind of like the alacrity providing Spectre can, but not like the alacrity providing Willbender, which you need something to wail on with that class or the boons fall off. So it has some strengths and weaknesses, but that's how I felt about it. And yeah. Oh, one other thing I wanted to talk about was the elemental bullet system. I mentioned that essentially like 1, 2, 3 on every single element is just bang, bang, bang. For the most damage, what I learned was fire, you do 3 then 2. Earth, you do 3 then 2. Water, you do 2 then 3. And we never visit air in this build. Now, what it does is like when you use one of your pistol skills, you get a floating bullet above your head. And then when you use the other pistol skill, you expend that bullet and you juice up the skill. If you somehow accidentally do them in the wrong order, like I do this, and then like I just have a leftover fire bullet, and then I go earth, and I do I do earth things, and then later I go back to fire, and then I do my normal fire rotation, it will be less damage because I already have a fire bullet before going into it. So it's going to amplify the first skill I use. And then the second skill, instead of consuming a bullet, generates a bullet. So if you get out of whack with the elemental bullet, you stay out of whack for the next 10 minutes, like the whole fight. It's extremely punishing. So if you manage to accidentally get a leftover elemental bullet in any element, it's like you've offset everything for the remainder of the entire encounter. So in addition to me finding the pistol kind of dull, because just every single skill is bang bang, it's also extremely punishing if you manage to get like out of whack about it. Unless you notice it, true. But if you're in a raid fight and there's a million fireworks going on, I gotta tell you, I don't see that. Like if there's a million spell effects going on, I do not see that. Now, a trained elementalist might. This could be just muck bad. I'm just telling you how it felt. If you got any questions, problems, thoughts, concerns, or ways that you think I did this wrong, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll fight you there.